All right, so on this episode of Limitless Live, really excited to be joined by Dustin Kennon. Dusty is somebody that we've worked with here at Limitless. He has done several marketing projects for us, including some branding things that we did when we first opened our space here. He's actually started working with some of our longer form testimonial features that we do as well. He has attended some of the group workouts and the Netflix events here, and I certainly got to know Dusty through the local networking scene. So just a natural person to have a conversation with. So Dusty, happy to have you here, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's nice. Do you guys? It's killer setup. Like,
Well, so the real story is that Dusty is the one that gave me the shopping list to do all the things, and then still came here probably on 3 or 4 different occasions to help hang the lights and run the wires and connect the soundboard and focus the cameras and all that kind of stuff. So although there have been glitches along the way, that's the nature of working with technology. Dusty's the reason that this space even exists. So
well, no,
thanks for all that.
Yes, like on the technical side, but like what I really appreciate about that, I don't know if I've ever told you this. What I really appreciated about that conversation was not that it was like, oh, we're just going to buy all the things and whatever, but it was very much because I've had conversations like that of like, hey, we want to do this thing. What do we need to buy? Whatever. Right. And what I appreciated about the conversation with you was, hey, what do we need to buy? Whatever. But then like, oh yeah, no, we want to do it for like $500, and you didn't want to do it. Like you wanted it to be something where like obviously you're not going to be silly spending the money, but something that was going to look good, sound good, and like set you guys up for success. Whether it's like you in here or anybody on the team, they can come in, they can sit down, press a couple buttons, and go. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's just I don't know. That's something I appreciate about you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Well, I knew just because I come from a background of my dad works in video production and does primarily corporate stuff, so has these very large corporate clients where like they're not doing a project for less than like $25,000 or $30,000, and all this equipment they're bringing in with the boom mics and the cameras on wheels and all. It's just like I know, this stuff's expensive, man. Like so it was never a surprise to me. And trust me, I didn't want to come in here and spend $25,000 or $30,000 either in just an unused room in our new office space. But at the same time, I was like, it would be great if we just had an on-demand content studio, right? Where whether I have 20 minutes or 2 hours, whether I am speaking to somebody else like I am right now, or whether I just want to film some stuff solo, I'm not having to schedule a time to go somewhere else and then turn around and wait for that person to get back to me and then show up for the time and hope that I'm having a good hair day, you know, all that kind of stuff, plus the post-production, all that stuff that has to happen on the back end. It's like, it's hard enough to go from, you know, hey, I've got an idea to, hey, let me put it together and make it look good. But it's way eeasier when you actually at least have the equipment and space to make it happen. So thanks for that, man.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Well, where I like to start with conversations with folks, we tend to stay business focused, but the personal bleeds into the business. So, Dusty, why don't you start by just sharing a little bit more of your personal story? So I'll just start with the intro of now Dusty is the owner of Top Shelf Media. So he is doing his own audio, video, social media, all that kind of stuff, and he can explain it a little bit more, but certainly you had a road that led you to all that. So why don't you start there?
Yeah. So like most people that I know, I actually didn't go to school for videography or photography or content or anything like that. I actually went to school for Christian studies. So the thought when I was in high school was I was going to be a youth pastor, or wanted to be a youth pastor. And then got to like junior year of college and realized I didn't want to do that. Finished with the degree. So I actually have a theology degree, which is funny. And then it was about 2-ish years, something like that, after I'd graduated college. Had no idea what I wanted to do, so I was just waiting tables, just, you know, whatever. Got the opportunity to go live in the UK and work with a nonprofit. And about maybe like 3 months before that, I had like, I mean, they were horrible, but I'd started doing like a little bit graphic designy kind of stuff. I was volunteering with the youth group and started doing like a little bit of stuff for them. And when I say I made a video, I mean I downloaded a YouTube video and cut it up and put it back together.
Oh, nice.
But very like but I started doing well, and I started doing it, and the more I did it, the more I was like, oh, this is fun. I enjoy this, you know. And then kind of actually the first video I ever shot at an event, I had to borrow a camera. It was it was like a Rebel, it was like a Canon Rebel something T6 or whatever it is. Like I had to borrow it from a friend to go shoot the event and give it back to him. But I did more and more of it. And then when I was over in the UK, they didn't really have a budget. When I said they didn't have a budget. So they were whatever I could do. They were photo, video, whatever. They were just, yes, do all the things? Yes. So I really got to do a lot of stuff there, and it was about halfway ish during the year. I just kind of realized like I really like this. Like I really enjoy doing this. I really like getting to like tell stories and do photo and video and being able to kind of really show it. People were telling me I was good at it. So I was like, cool. Okay. So yeah, I was like, cool, awesome. This is kind of what I want to do. And that was part of kind of what that year was, honestly, is it was very much a like, hey, I'm going to go and take this opportunity because, you know, I'm single. I didn't own a house. I didn't have a dog, had a car, but I could get rid of that. Like, like when else are you going to be able to go live in another country for a year?
Yep.
But the other part of it was I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So it was like, why not go and do this and take advantage of it, you know?
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So came back and then started Top Shelf in January of 2018. Yeah.
Where did the name come from, Top Shelf?
So I actually worked in restaurants I mean, I had other jobs too, but in some form or fashion worked in restaurants, food service since I was like 16.
Okay.
So Top Shelf was very much a kind of born out of that. And really the idea was we wanted to produce things that people like they wanted to show off, but they were also important and I don't want to say precious. It sounds a little heavy, but like they're important and they want to show them off, but they're valuable to them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about like a top shelf of a bar or a liquor cabinet or something like that, you put stuff up there because you want to show off. You want people to see it, right? But then you also put it up there because you don't want like the newbie waiter or bartender or whoever to knock over the $200 bottle of Glen McKenna, you know what I mean, and smash it on the ground. But yeah, and so that's what we wanted to produce, things that like people wanted to show off and that were very valuable to them. And then we've kind of expanded since then, where we were just doing photo video. So now it's holistic, full service marketing, from like strategy through to content and social media and websites and stuff. But the kind of that core at the beginning was we just wanted to make really great things, and people just would really value and really show them off well.
Yeah. So I came in with two questions in my head that I knew I was going to ask you. So I'm going to just go ahead and roll with one of them, and it kind of has a natural follow-up. But so it starts with a statement, which is, obviously I've been exposed to videography throughout my life. I've seen different styles of videography out there. One of the things I really appreciate about your style of both the filming and the post-production side of things is that you do like to incorporate the cool, for lack of a better word, whether it's a fog machine or some cool backlighting or whatever it may be. And it does look good, but on the back end, it doesn't seem cheesy or over the top. I feel like there's a way that you could push that over the edge to where it's just like, oh, it looks like some kid just decided to turn on all his toys at the same time and see how it looked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So one, I guess, do you think that's an accurate description of your style? Because that's just my perception. But then two, how do you pull off that balance of like, hey, I don't want to just have somebody standing in front of a blank screen reading off a teleprompter and look really boring. But at the same time, how do you not then push the envelope too far where it's like, wow, is he trying to like pull off a Mission Impossible movie here? This just looks like way over the top as far as what they're trying to do. So how do you balance that?
I do think it's an accurate description. So that's something I'm sure this is just largely born out of like my personality. But I grew up reading a lot. When I say I was reading a lot, like I was the kid that was like, I was reading a book on the way to lunch. I read a book at lunch, read a book on the way back to class.
Yep.
I won, I don't know if AR points are a thing still.
Oh, I remember.
Are they? Okay, yeah. Okay, so AR points, I've won like for my middle school. Like I was a top AR reader.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'd always like really, and I was a big fantasy person. Like, Harry Potter's kind of an obvious one, but like Harry Potter, the Aragon series, all of them, right? But I always really liked the really not dramatic, but like the really just really like stunning visuals, like just really just distinct, like you could I don't know, it just really stood off. You could really see it. So that's something that's always been kind of cool to bring into the work that I do, especially when everything we do is commercial work, right? So whether it's like branding content or it's we're doing some kind of long form story or something like that, they can be kind of dry, you know what I mean? Like necessarily like they can be kind of sterile. So being able to bring kind of cool elements into it where it looks cool, but then always always keeping like the story the main thing. Whereas like, because at the end of the day, like the visuals are cool, right? Like it definitely adds kind of some production value and kind of like makes it, like you said, it kind of attracts attention and people want to see it. but being able to have the story, because at the end of the day, that story is going to be what actually people connect with.
That's right.
That's going to be the thing that really stands through. There was a second part of your question that I forgot.
It was basically, do you think that's an accurate description? And then if so, how do you balance?
How do I balance?
You want to be cool enough without being like way over the top.
I think the best answer I could give for how to balance, or how I balance it, is whatever we do, I want it to be intentional. So it's never like, hey, we're just going to run a fog machine for the sake of running a fog machine. It's going to be, hey, we're running the fog machine because we've got this light that's off in the corner. So a great example that I'll use is with Nikki, where we didn't earn it, right?
Yeah.
So we had Nikki where she was, when we were doing the talking part with her.
Mm-hmm.
So we used a section of the gym. We had her there, had her sitting just on a box or something at the front of it, and then had a light up off to the side shooting through. Now, but what we wanted is I wanted the light to hit the, I'm sure there's a better term for it, but the bars at the back of the gym.
Yeah, the barbells. Yeah.
Barbells, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hit those and come through.
Mm-hmm.
But what would have leveled that shot up even more would have been to have the fog, because then that fog is going to catch the light and it's just going to look better.
Right.
And there's another shot with her that's freaking awesome, where it's like her sitting on the box, and then there's and actually it's not even something that y'all planned in the gym. It's just y'all's building has like some holes or something in like the back of the room or something like that. It's like right above the door. So we ran the fog in, and just the sunlight was coming through those holes.
Oh yeah.
And it was like right behind her.
Yep.
And but it's things like that where it's like, anytime we're gonna have any kind of like, call it more like dramatic elements in it. Like, yes, the drama is great, awesome, cool, but like, hey, let's make sure that it's in service to what we're doing. You know what I mean? And then honestly, there's just a balance where it's like, hey, I don't know that I've ever had like a formula of like 4 normal shots to 1, dramatic shot, but it's just kind of, when you're watching, I guess the biggest thing is like, you're watching through the edit and it's like, okay, hey, does this is this actually adding something, or is it being a distraction? Because if it's being a distraction, let's tone it back. Let's, yeah.
So my next follow-up question is that, it starts with an assumption. The assumption is, hey, you want Top Shelf Media to continue to grow and to be more than just Dusty, the videographer, the producer, the person that posts on, and I know you have other people that you have working with you, but I'm assuming the goal of every business owner is to continue to grow that. So I think the thing that makes Top Shelf Media unique, at least in my mind, is that what we just talked about is this like, hey, there's this creative genius behind it, but it's not going to come across as like trying way too hard. You know, the way I think of it too is like, if somebody were a musician and they go to a recording studio, it's like, well, how many audio effects do we want to use here? Because when you go too hard on the auto tune, all of a sudden people are like, that doesn't even sound like music anymore. That just sounds like somebody playing with a kid's toy, right? So same thing can happen with you. So my next question is, okay, so Dusty feels like, and I feel like Dusty can strike the balance well. How does Dusty now communicate that to one day having 5 or 10 editors working underneath him and however many other videographers that are going out and capturing this content? How do you make it look even 80 or 90% of what it would have looked like if Dusty was the one that was holding the hand on this project from start to finish? Because you're one person, obviously, right? You would love to have, just like I would, right? I would love to have 15 therapists all treating patients right now at the same time, right? And knowing that the standard of care that they're giving is right at where it would be if I myself were doing it. And I don't mean that from an arrogant standpoint, but you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the identity behind Limitless, right? So same for you. So how do you, as a creative, cast that vision, create expectations, and some consistent process or format that you follow so that what I get as a client looks like what I expect to get from Dusty?
So I think part of that is definitely standards. That's something that we've already had, really, or I mean, obviously always improving and stuff, but something that's even conversations I've had with people around that, really, of like, hey, like, because even now I can't be doing everything, because we'll have some shoots where we have multiple shooters because we might be doing photo and video at the same time, or we might just have a big enough thing where we have multiple photographers, multiple videographers. So I've been in situations where like I can't, as much as I would want to clone myself and do it, I can't, you know what I mean? So there's a level of trust that has to happen with that. But then also what I've always told people is, with Top Shelf, I want to have such a high standard that like if the expectation is here, right? Like this is just what people expect from us. I want our standard to be here because that way, if our standard is here, even if for, you know, call it the 80, the 90%, right? Even if it's not 100% of our standard, it's still far and above what anyone would expect of us. You know what I mean? So we're able to keep that. One of the things that's been really helpful on the post-production side is just documenting what I do. So not so much the, hey, this clip and then this this transition and then this other clip, as much as like the why behind it. So as much as like the kind of this is why we, you know, this is why we're going to go in and put the audio together first, and then we're going to do the B-roll, and this is kind of that process. Because if I can give people the process, then you know everyone's going to be a little bit different, especially when you have like something creative. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's cool, honestly. Like there's been some shots that I've gotten, some photos, some video shots that honestly somebody else recommended it or were like, hey, what if we do this, whatever. That was the best thing maybe not the best thing, but that was one of the best things that we shot that day. You know what I mean? Like it was just, so that collaborative aspect, honestly, that you're able to really grow and able to do bigger and better things when you have more people. But having kind of the core, like, hey, this is what matters the most to us when we're in this thing. So kind of like, you know, being able to instill in people that balance of like, hey, we want it to look really good, but also what's the story that we're trying to tell here, right? Because like with Top Shelf, you know, the goal is we want to leverage stories and empower brands. So it's, hey, let's keep that at the focus, and then the nuance of like how that shows itself out with the specific photos, the specific video shots doesn't. I don't want to say it doesn't really make a difference, but at the end of the day, use Nikki as an example, right? As just because it's fresh in my mind. With like Nikki's video, right? It would it have made it a definitively better or worse video if we had different shots of her working out or her lifting? Not necessarily. You know what I mean? Like it still would have, like, because at the end of the day, what really like the driving thing of it was her story, was the impact you guys had with her, was her being able to go and, well, first and foremost, be able to be, not I want to say be a mom again, but be able to really do things with her son and be able to like get back into CrossFit and be able to do like the story of it. You could have just had her talking to a cell phone, and that would have been impactful enough. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it's in short, because I'm going to ramble. It's definitely having standards and just communicating those, and then the other side of that is there has to be trust. Like you have to let these other people who are good at what they do and have that creative talent. You have to let them kind of, I don't say put their spin on it, but like let's say put their spin on it and just provide guardrails of like, hey, here's the road we're going down. We got to stay between these two things, but as long as we're between these two things and the standards are there, we're good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you said a lot of good stuff there. I agree. You said a lot of good stuff there. But I do the same thing from our business side of things. Where it's like you have to figure out what are the non-negotiables, right? What are the things that like we can't miss this, or we can't not do this, right? But then outside of that, of course, there's some liberty. And if you saw myself or one of our 4 other therapists that currently work for us now, it would be like we could all probably help the same person, but if you were to look at a given session, that session would probably look very different, you know, across therapists. That doesn't mean one is right or wrong. I think one of the things I've almost had to repent of along the way is this idea that like my way is the best way, right? There's some arrogance behind
Well, there's
that
ownership of like, this is
there's
like,
ownership.
this is your
There's
thing.
still arrogance, right? Of just like me seeing it as like my way is the right way. When in reality, I'm humbled every day by people on our team. I'm like, man, I wouldn't have seen that. Man, I wouldn't have thought about that. Like, man, I wouldn't have meshed well with that personality. But so it's like, well, hold on a second. So the real point is figure out, use the word guardrails. What are those non-negotiables? What are those things that we're not willing to cross these lines? But then inside of that, like we do have to give people a little bit of leeway to say, hey, like, I trust you. I've trained you, or you've been trained elsewhere and you have the know-how and the credentials. Like, go do it. Right.
Well, and I feel like especially when you have like, I mean, and I know that this exists in other industries too, but like one of the similarities that I see between like physical therapy or even personal training with Jay and Angelica and creative is like there's an inherent skill set there that the people have, whether it's time, education, like whatever that looks like that's gone into that. They have this investment that they've made into it, right? Or they're just getting started and they're like an intern or something and they're getting that. But like I feel like in order for people like that to have ownership in the organization and to what you're doing, whatever,
Yep.
like they have to have ownership in what they're doing. And I feel like the only real way for them to have that ownership is to give them the guardrails and then let them own the road, if you will,
Right.
if we're going to use that illustration. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yep.
Because otherwise, well, speaking for me anyway, I know, and when I say this because I've been in the situation where if I was at a job where you have to do it exactly this way, and there's no other way that you can do it, and this is the one right way, and there is no flexibility, and there's no like this
Right.
is it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't work there anymore for a reason. Like
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? Like that's
Right.
just that I just this
Right.
because it's like it's a job. I'm gonna clock in. Because I needed the money, so it's like I'm gonna clock in. I'm gonna do the job, and I'm gonna clock out, and it's nothing more than just a job.
That's right.
Versus something where I'm like, hey, like I really want to go and build this thing and be a part of it, and I
Yep.
like have that ownership in it.
Yep.
I feel like that. I don't know. I feel like that changes everything. You
Yeah.
know?
So how do you, as somebody who essentially specializes in what I'm going to call like high polish, high end video, photo, all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
how do you continue to exist and thrive in a world where everybody has a camera in their pocket, everybody feels like they can be a YouTube pro, or
Yeah.
everybody is downloading the latest and greatest AI app with all the filters and effects and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, versus you being a human that still drives some of that process. I know there are a lot of people that feel like, well, like I said, I can get it 80% as good just doing it on my own. So how do you manage that now, and how do you see that kind of transpiring and evolving
Yeah.
over the next couple of years?
That's a great question. So the day that iPhone, I forget which model it was, but the day that the iPhone came out with the cinematic mode on video,
Mhm.
the amount of text messages and Facebook messages and Instagram DMs and whatever that I got of like, dude, have you seen what? And some of them were like, oh my gosh, this like, what do you think about this? Whatever. There were videographer friends of mine that were like, what? Like, and it was both sides because some people were like, what the heck? You know, because you almost feel like, or they almost felt like we just can't keep up. You know what I mean? Like we can't like now people are just going to go use their phones, whatever. Other people are like, wow, that's kind of cool, whatever. But there's this range, right? And I feel like over time, like it, cinematic mode on, well, just phones in general, but like cinematic mode there. And then like now you've got like things like CapCut, and you've got like all of
Right.
these different things that people do that they're able to like, okay, cool. I can, like you said, they can make something that really isn't bad, you know what I mean? Like it's really not awful, And honestly, like I even do some of that stuff. Like I mean, these are Meta Ray-Ban glasses, so like I use these for BTS content,
Okay.
because it just fits really well into my flow of things. I'm able to just, as long as I'm wearing my glasses, you know what I mean? I've
You
got
didn't
them
tell
with
me
me.
I was on camera.
Yeah. Well, I do like
Just
little
kidding.
social clips, and like it's great. I mean, genuinely, it's something. It's really easy. It fits into what I do, and it just gives me stuff for like social media, whatever. And what I always tell people is like, look, if that's what gets you what you need, and from in terms of like consistency, that kind of thing, awesome, go and do it. Really, the biggest thing, and I would, it's probably like 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that, kind of made the shift where like, when we would talk to people, right, about like working with Top Shelf, and it's almost like, hey, why work with us, right? Like what do we offer, Up until that point, it was very much like, oh, we can take really great photos. We can tell your story. We
Right.
can, the phrase that kills me, because I feel like everybody says it, is like, we can tell the story of your brand, and like we can, you know what I mean? And but I say that, and I'm not knocking anybody, but I say that to say that like it was all very technically technical, like resolution quality focused. It was very much like, because like we own the gear, we own the cameras, we own the
Right.
lenses, the lights, or whatever,
Right.
we can offer this level of like technical quality that you as a normal everyday person wouldn't be able to achieve.
Right.
And that's not a thing anymore.
Right.
Like that's, you know what I mean? Not completely a thing anymore. There are differences between what a cell phone can do and like what professional equipment can do. But also, I don't know that there's that many people that would genuinely notice the difference in most situations.
Right.
Some people will. Some people will absolutely be able to tell the difference. And there are certain situations where a cell phone is still just not going to stack up to a cinema camera.
Right.
And part of that is just how you use the equipment, how you use the lighting, how you do those things. So there's definitely still the technical knowledge is still useful. But even when I'm talking to top shelf to people, right? So if I'm sitting down with a potential client, right?
Yep.
And we're kind of talking about a project and we're doing the thing, very little of that conversation is technically based because honestly, they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care if I shoot it in 4K or 720. You know what I mean? Like they don't.
Technical expertise is assumed
Yeah.
in that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking to you.
Yeah. Well, it's assumed, but it's also like at the end of the day, whether you use a camera or a magic unicorn fairy wand, like they at the end of the day, they have a problem and they just want you to solve it. They just need you to solve it.
Correct.
And so that's what I lead with. Like that's what I lead in with. Where like when I'm talking to business owners, when I'm talking to brand leaders, it's strategy. It's not just because honestly, sometimes photo and video is not what they need, or maybe that's not what they need right then, right? So maybe it's like, hey, yes, we could make you some real, and I saw that a lot when we were getting started with Top Shelf, which is why we expanded and do more now and do more holistic service now. But like, yes, we can make you some great photos and great video, but you cannot articulate what your unique value proposition is. You could not define your ideal client. You don't know where they are. You don't what you do in terms of like, this is what your business does, but what's your brand? Like what is, what problem do you solve? Right. Like, so it's like what you do, why you do, or how you do what you do, what you do, and then why you do it. Right. They know the how this is the thing that we do. Right. So when we're working with brands, like I don't say there's no point, because we could make you some really nice looking photos and videos, but there is every chance that we're going to make this content. And then in 6 months or a year, you're going to figure this out. And then this no longer lines up with this, which means now you have some really, not really expensive, but you have some expensive content that you can't really use. I mean, you can, but it's not going to be in service to this in the way that it could have been. Right.
Yep.
So we lead with strategy. Like when I'm talking with people, it's, hey, what, it's not just a photo or video. It's like, hey, what's the goal? Like what is this going to be doing for you? You know?
That's right. And that aligns with a lot of lessons that I've learned through business and things that I tell our team all the time, which is, what are people actually paying for? Right. So they're not paying for that product or that service that you provide. They're usually paying for any number of things, but I would say the two that I most commonly find that people are paying for is, one, they're paying for your expertise, right? I don't want to have to go learn all the technical aspects of this. I just need you to be the expert and you can handle it. Yeah. And then what goes along with that is they're buying their time back, right? Is that, I mean, Dusty, you're great at what you do, and I'll be honest and say, in this analogy, this is not going to hold because I just don't have a creative brain like other creatives do. But theoretically, I could go learn under somebody for a year or two and technically do anything that you do, right? Yeah. Right? I mean, I might not have the same creative brain that you do. Yeah. But technically, I could go learn the skills, right? But I don't want to do that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, my time over the next year or two is way more valuable to me.
I have no interest in going to medical school.
That's
so,
right.
Or PT school. You know what I mean?
Like, it's
the
same idea. Yeah. Right. So what we're really doing is we're just saying, hey, in order for me to be able to do this at a level that would be acceptable for me, here's how much time that's going to take me to do it. And in the case of content, here's how much time it's going to take me to do it over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah. And I'm not willing to do that. Like, at some point, you just have to go, hey, my time is actually better spent in the areas where I'm already excellent. I need to focus as much of my time on that. And so that's why I would opt to pay somebody like Dusty to do those things. Yes, I want it to look really good. And yes, I do want that finished product that we said were the deliverables in the contract, right? Of course we do. But what I'm really paying for is the time that I didn't have to spend doing that thing, and the expertise of somebody who knows a lot more than I do, right? So the service itself, whether the video is 3 minutes or 5 minutes, right? Whether the video has this level of lighting or this visual quality or audio, literally doesn't matter, right? It's the fact that I didn't have to spend time thinking about that or executing on that. That's what's valuable. So,
well, and then also thinking like more like, I don't say, I mean, a higher, well, this sounds bad to say it maybe, but like a higher chance of the desired results. You know what I mean? Like that, it's like that of, I forget where I heard it, but it's like, if you got one bullet, you know what I mean, and you're hunting and you got to feed your family, like you're waiting for the clean, clear shot where they're standing in the middle of a field and they're not moving and
there's no wind.
there's no wind. They're like for your best possible chance. You know what I mean? And that's like when you're working with, I mean, because like you could go, if we're going to use the hunting analogy, you could just go and try to like go through the bushes and the trees and and you know what, you might actually get that deer, maybe, but you're going to spend a lot of energy and a lot of time, and you don't have as high of a chance of success versus like, hey, there's this really clear like path, you know what I mean? And I mean, when we're talking with people, like it's very much a, hey, like the goal is, I want you to, using Limitless as an example, like I want you to be able to, the team, I want you guys to be able to go do what you're already really great at, and then let us do what we're already really great at, and then that frees you up to do your things. But then also these other kind of secondary-ish things are getting accomplished as well. You know what I mean? The clients are getting taken care of. They're having a great experience, but then also the content's getting made, the website's what it needs to be, the social media is there, because these things are going to help this thing grow. Right. But then it's versus you having to spend 3 times as long doing it for it to not get the same results. Right. Like we can spend a third of the time, but that's what we do. But the same way of like, if I was going to try to like help somebody who had an injury, I don't know that I could spend 5 times and get them even give them the results. To be honest with you,
Understood.
like,
and that goes back to the buying the time piece too, though, is that like the opportunity cost of knowing that I'm not going to fail 3 times before I figure it out. At least I know it's going to get done, and it's going to get done well. Yeah, right. I think that's what it's all about. Well, I want to wrap it up by just asking, from your perspective, what are your goals over the next, let's say, 2 or 3 years? What do you hope to accomplish through Top Shelf? And then make sure you share some of your contact info where people can find you as well, because I know there are people that have seen the content that you have made for us, but will also see this content and may want to reach out to you. So.
Sure, yeah. Well, I want to jump back real quick to answer that, back into the question. So talk about where things are going, right? Yeah. I think there's kind of this middle of the aisle where on one side, everybody thinks AI, these people think that AI is awful and horrible and it's coming for everybody's jobs, and it's just, oh my gosh, whatever. Right. You know what I mean? This is the worst thing ever. And then there's the other side of the aisle that think this is the best thing ever and it's awesome and it's whatever. I'm in this side. I think but with a caveat, because I think AI is, and even creative stuff, right? Because you see, what AI could produce from a photo video standpoint a year ago with Will Smith and the spaghetti, and to this year, like seeing the same thing, you can still tell it's AI. You can still tell that it's not real, but it's a lot better than it used to be. And it's only going to get better. You know what I mean? The reality is AI is not going anywhere. It's just not going to go anywhere. Right? So at that point, then it's like, okay, kind of thinking almost like opportunity cost, thinking like, hey, do what you're really good at, and then let somebody else come in and do the thing that they're really good at. AI can process a lot faster than you or me. Right. It's a computer. It's what it does. You know what I mean? Like, so kind of thinking like, where are things going? I think you're going to see, from a content standpoint, I think you're going to see almost like 2 markets emerge. So I think on the which, and I'm glad there are, by the way, to clarify, I think you're going to see what I would call like the bottom market. This is going to be your people who just started a business, they don't have a budget or don't have as much of a budget, and frankly, they're having to kind of prioritize what they're spending their money on because they just started a business and they have core expenses that they have to make to do their service, right? So these people are going to leverage AI to a higher degree because they're going to be able to, because the reality is the content going to be as specific, as tailored, as kind of, and when I say high quality, I don't mean it in a technical sense as much as I mean it as a strategic storytelling, the things that really only a human can do to the level that a human can do it. No. Will it work for them where they're at and to give them something? Yes, it will. Right. And then you're going to see this upper market where this is going to be where, and I hate saying this because I don't mean this in a mean way, but this upper market is going to be where as honestly, it's going to be where the good creatives are, right? Because I think AI will absolutely force some people out of the creative industry. Sure. It just will. In the same way, frankly, it's going to force other people out of other industries. Sure. And that's not being mean. That's just, it's the illustration I've used with people that I've had this conversation with, that it's like, before human beings invented a plow, right, to pull behind a horse, somebody was out there tilling a field all day, right? And that's just what they did. Well, then when they made the plow and they hooked it behind the horse, well, now the reality is this is going to get this a lot done a lot faster than this person out there plowing that field. It doesn't mean the person
And I
that
don't
was
have to pay this animal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, one is, and it's not even I have to pay the animal, but it's like it's going to get done better, faster. Like, and the reality is now that human had a choice, right?
That's right.
Oh no, I don't have my job anymore because this stupid horse took it, or donkey, or whatever they used, and this plow took it. Oh no, what the heck? Let's get rid of the donkey. That's stupid. No, don't get rid of the donkey. The donkey's doing a great job. But now the human needs to go find something that only a human can do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the same thing, like taking that illustration and putting it in the kind of creative with AI, where it's like, now, okay, so if AI is really good at, like, I use AI for some things. I use AI now, even, I mean, and I'm excited for where it's going to go. But the way to really do it is to, okay, what can AI do? What can I do that AI can't? And then I'm going to go just absolutely just full tilt into this, but then leverage AI here to do the things that I can't do or that I don't want to do, frankly, that it does better anyway.
Right.
And then that frees me up to do the things that really only a human being can do. You know what I mean? But then leverage AI strategically. And that's something that we're actually working more and more with businesses now, where we have top shelf, where it's the whole service, it's the marketing, the brand strategy, the content, the website, socials, all those things. And then we're actually in the process of building a secondary company or a sister company that is AI integration, where it's very much, okay, let's put these two things together, where let's bring in AI to do the things that AI does really, really well, from like a B2B sales, a B2C sales, social media management, doing all the things that AI can just really do, because then that frees up the business owner to do the things that only they can do and really just go all in on that, knowing that these other things are getting taken care of. All that to say, where it's going, AI is not going anywhere. It's only going to get better. And I think the options are either throw up your hands and just be like, oh, okay, it's going to take my job. What am I going to do? Which I would generally classify that as like a victim mentality, which is never going to get you anywhere in life to begin with. So I think the options are either have a victim mentality and just it's coming for everybody and everyone's going to lose their jobs and it's just awful, or it's you see it as an opportunity of, hey, there's this really great thing that I'm going to be able to use to leverage to do the things that I don't want to do, that it can frankly do a better job at and quicker. Great. It does that, takes it off my plate. Well, now what can I go do that only I can do? You know what I mean? And really lean into that. Right. So that's where I think it's going. But yeah, I mean, as far as goals, definitely building out the second company right now, the sister company, doing that. I mean, really, that's such a hard question, because like I feel like it's just changed over time. But right now, probably in the next year, well, it'll be 6 months, but in the next 6 months, that's kind of the main goal. After that, I mean, it's just keep working with brands and businesses and build. We're based in Pickens right now, and Pickens is great. I've got nothing against Pickens. Would love to move to actually like Greenville proper, because we spend like all our time here. And be able to look at having like a studio space here, be able to kind of do some of those things. But really the thing that I'm most excited about moving forward is just being able to just keep working with brands, being able to just be able and really leaning into the strategic aspect of it. Because I think something that we're really known for is the content side, is the, hey, great photos, great video. But really being able to communicate with just brand leaders and business owners that like, hey, yes, content. And I think part of that's also like the educational aspect of like, hey, it's not just good looking photos, good looking video, but it's like, what's the goal? How is this serving your business? How is this serving your brand? And if you don't have an answer to that question, let's answer that question and then make the really cool stuff, because then you just get a bigger and better ROI off of it, you know? But yeah, just working with businesses, brand leaders, just helping them grow. I don't know that I have any specific goals around like team just yet. I think I do know the first aspect of the team that'll get built out full time is the post-production side, because editing just takes so much longer than shooting does. Like 2 to 3 times as long. Or maybe I'm just a slow editor. I might just be a slow editor, honestly. But yeah, so definitely building out that side of it. And then, yeah, just kind of, I'm excited for the day when we can have a full-time team, like content team. Just because you can do, you can just do more when you have more people. Like when you have people that are coming together, and then like we were talking before, we're like, you've got the guardrails, and then you let people own the road. You get a team like that together, and I mean, you can do some really great things. It's exciting.
Absolutely. All right. Make sure you tell people where they can find your content and get in contact with you.
Yeah. So Top Shelf Media Company. So topshelfmediaco.com. On Instagram and Facebook, it's just at Top Shelf Media Company. And yeah, we're located in Pickens, upstate South Carolina. We travel. I get that question a lot. We've gone to international, but we go all over the place working with people, and yeah, would love to help out.
All right. Thanks, Dusty, for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Amen.